Some breaking news out of the NFL. Not really breaking. I guess it broke a little bit ago. Richard Sherman, Super Bowl champion one time. One time?
Two time.
One
with Seattle.
Yeah, they didn't win.
Oh, one time.
One-time Super Bowl champion Richard Sherman, the man who negotiated his own contract, perennial All-Pro, in the conversation for best cornerback of all time. There's probably 5 people in that convo. I'm not giving my opinion on said thing there. I'm just saying one of the best corners in football right now and has been for a long, long time. The San Francisco 49ers announced this morning they are putting him on IR. Apparently, he had a flare-up in a leg issue in IR this year since COVID is a little bit different, and they want to be able to keep the roster fluid. IR is now, you're allowed to return after 3 weeks as opposed to the normal 6 to 8. I forget what it was before that. This year, players can go on IR, their roster spot opens up, and then they can return in 3 weeks, which I hope they keep, by the way, around post-COVID football because that makes teams better. It kind of makes guys' careers a lot better because sometimes guys will get deemed to go to IR, so they open up a roster spot, but they don't want to cut the person. They still want to get them paid. And then that person could have came back with 8 weeks of football left, but instead their entire season is kind of poop because they had to put them on IR because at one point you were only one person allowed designated to return. Now this year, because of COVID, 3 weeks you can come back if you get put on IR. I think it makes football much better. It makes teams much better. I think it's a good idea, and I think everybody, if you're a 49ers faithful or just a football fan in general, is hoping that Richard Sherman doesn't have something serious that IR would normally call for in the past, and this year it's just a different IR, and that he comes back in 3 weeks and plays the football. Although Kyler Murray beat that Niners defense week 1, they're missing a very valuable piece of that thing in Richard Sherman for at least the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, they've had some injury issues because they what's his name? Debo's out too on IR.
Debo Samuel.
They don't know if Kittle's going to play this weekend. The back-to-back run of the Super Bowl has not started the way that they would want to.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how you're playing now or who's healthy now. It's all about who's healthy in the end, Ty. Who is healthy in December going into January? And obviously, you want to end up down there in February.
With him already having an Achilles injury a couple years ago, are they worried that this is like a lingering thing that will last all year?
I have no idea, but I do know that Tom Pelissero, I believe, tweeted after this report came out, and he said, from my understanding, and by the way, Tom Pelissero dunked on Connor, so he's not that big of a nerd, actually. He actually posterized Connor a couple of weeks ago. He said, from my understanding, this is a flare-up of an old issue from 2017. 2017 was the year that he tore his Achilles, and I'm not just sure you have a flare-up on your Achilles, and I would hope that that is not happening. Achilles is that's a nightmare and a heartbreaker for people because it happens normally non-contact. It just kind of pops off. Here you go. You can't even hold your foot. And the rehab is a nightmare. A couple years ago, he had a torn Achilles. He got that thing fixed. They're saying it's a flare-up, so maybe it's like a bruise around there or something. But that is something that is a cause for concern. But I've always been, with my non-educated, non-medical degree having brain, never being in a medical class, rarely going to a doctor, thought that if the Achilles is going to go, it's going to go. Like, I don't know if there's anything you can do to stop it. I've seen some of the most in shape humans tear their Achilles. I've seen some people who are absolutely in the worst shape ever not tear their Achilles, and then I've seen some people in between. I don't understand the Achilles. I do know that son of a bitch got dipped in that river of immunity by his Achilles, and that's where he ended up dying from back in the day. But I don't know. I think if it's going to go, it's going to go is kind of how I view it, and that is somebody who does not know shit about medicine or injuries. So I hope he's all right. He is an electrifying foosball player.
The 3-day IR rule, do you think they're going to keep that?
3 week IR?
3 weeks, sorry.
I hope they do, yeah. I hope they do. I don't know if they will, but I really do hope they do. It's just so much better because team roster management is something that is not easy to begin with. Where you got salary caps and you got this, you got that. And a lot of special teams guys who they don't want to get rid of, by the way, they put them on IR because it's like, hey, you're probably going to be out for the next 7 weeks. We can't hold a roster spot for you because you're just a teamer for us, but we don't want you to leave. So we're going to put you on IR. We'll get you paid. And that person could have been back probably for the last 5 weeks, which is the most important football that you have. And instead, you got somebody who's very good that the public doesn't even know exists that could have have been on, but since the rule was only one player can be designated to return, or once you go to IR, you can't come back, I like the evolving IR that the NFL has, because it's like what? In baseball, the DL.
Yeah.
Sons of bitches come back whenever they want, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple different stages. There's like the 10-day DL, the 20-day DL, the 30, 40, 50, 60. So, even if a guy is very seriously injured, a lot of times he can come back sooner than he may have beforehand.
So I think the NFL keeps it. I hope they do. But that is a massive move if they do, by the way, for every team. And every GM will be like, thank God. Because when you put somebody on IR, you lose them. Or you can injury waive them, which means somebody else can pick them up and deal the rehab. Or you keep them on the roster and they take up a very valuable spot that you don't have. I mean, it's very difficult. When people get injured, it is very, very difficult.